Hey guys, welcome back. Thank you for joining me for this video. Today we're going to be talking about Enneagram Type 9, and we're going to be talking about the highs and lows, or where the trajectory that 9s go on when things are going well and they seem to be relatively healthy or emotionally healthy and engaged, and also what it looks like when 9s become stressed. And so the 9, of course, is called the peacemaker. And I think that's a good fitting title for 9s. They do tend to avoid conflict, and I think at the heart of it, there's a fear of disconnection within 9s. 9s got a message early on as children, or at least the message they heard as children, is that if they would merge with the dominant people in their life, merge with their values, merge with their opinions, merge with their wants and needs, then the 9 could then stay connected to those important people. So 9s tend to be easygoing, carefree, mellow people. Those are the positive words. The negative words might be passive, even passive aggressive, lazy. 9s can get stuck in the mud and not move forward. Gravity can become a big enemy of the 9s, and that working hard to make yourself disappear so that others are not upset with you, can take a toll on a person. And often 9s are not even aware, of the inherent dangers of their personality. They're easy to get along with. They tend to be very likable people and easygoing people. But as been said before, it takes a lot of work to be that easygoing, and it takes a lot of work to resist that much anger in your life. And remember, 9s are in the anger group with 8s and 1s. And 8s and 1s, you can see the anger. You can see the anger in 8s often really easy. 1s, their sin is anger. They keep a lid on it, but at times, you'll see that frustration come out in 1s. 9s are kind of like the dormant volcano. That stuff is down there, but they sort of switch it off. That's kind of what they go to sleep to. So people begin to build their village around the 9, and when the 9 eventually explodes, everybody's kind of shocked and surprised that you had that in you, because nobody saw that coming, because your typical way of dealing with things in life is to go along with. And 8s, they kind of look at people like people are stupid and they need to be put in their place and you need to work around them. 1s tend to look at people as though they're ignorant and stupid and they need to be organized and managed, and they need a lot of laws and rules and to be monitored. And 9s, look at people as though they're kind of stupid and ignorant, and you just better try to just get along with them. And the best way to get along with them is not to voice your opinion, not to voice your concerns, not to be a problem. And so 9s spend their whole life trying to not be a problem to people. And sometimes that can lead 9s into going along with things that they shouldn't go along with. I think there's probably, a lot of 9s in prison right now that got caught doing stuff that they really didn't even want to do. They were just, the driver. They were just going along with they got in with the wrong group. And so they found themselves getting, it took them farther than they wanted to go. And I think that's easy for 9s to end up going along with the group, going along with the crowd. And so I think one of the keys for 9s is to surround yourself with people who are going somewhere positive, because 9s tend to merge and tend to fuse with the people they're with. And so, if you could be a little more selective of the friends that you make, I think it would make a big difference in the life of the 9. So let's talk about, what it looks like when 9s are unhealthy and when they're healthy. And throughout this series of highs and lows series, I've used the analogy or the metaphor of living in your cabin. And so for the 9s, the cabin for the 9s is the 9 cabin. And it's everything that 9ness is. They kind of shut down that I'm my own person with my own opinions. And if I just, fuse with the other people around me, then, and seek comfort, then I can stay connected with people. And so that's the 9 cabin. On both sides of that cabin are neighbors. And on one side, you have a very powerful neighbor of the 8. Okay, and the 8 does not fuse with people. The 8 has their own opinion. And the 9 can really benefit by this neighbor, by borrowing some of the energy at times of that 8 and say, you know what, this is not my problem, and look people in the eyes and give it back to them. So the 9 wing 8, is called the referee or called the advisor. And when you think about a referee is not in the game. A referee is observing the game. And when there's a problem, when somebody's not being treated fair, they'll blow the whistle, come in and try to peacemake. And then once that peacemaking has happened, you'll see the 9 then back out. The referee then backs out of the game to a passive position. So the 9-8 is kind of like that. They're more willing to be direct and confrontive and blow the whistle when something is not being treated fair, when somebody's not being, understood. You'll see the 9 engage, step in, try to resolve things, and they'll work for peace because they really do understand, other people's opinions. The 9 could really benefit from the energy of that 8 next door. On the other side, down the other lane is the 1, and the 1 is also another very powerful person, a very powerful type. 1s, have that critic within them that says you better parent yourself so you don't get parented by somebody else. And so the 1 is very much aware of what they need to do, what ought to be done, what should be done, how they should live their life. What tasks are priority tasks and how important it is to get those tasks done. And so when the 9 leans on that 1, they become more productive. They start to tap into what should be done and what ought to be done, and it helps them resist that tendency to be lazy or that tendency to be slothful. Remember, the sin, of the 9 is sloth. And it's not just sloth like laziness, like you think of laziness. I think it's more like sloth of going to sleep to yourself and going to sleep to your own values and going to sleep to what you ought to and need to do in life, and just kind of accepting. See, life happens to 9s. Rather than them being engaged in life, it's kind of like life is happening to them. And that sloth is that acceptance of that life is just happening to me. But when 9s, lean on that 1, they're engaging themselves into what needs to be done. What do I need to do to engage today in the tasks of life? The 9 wing 1 is called the dreamer. And the 9-1 can start to dream about at least what needs to be done and what could be done and what ought to be done. And it'll maybe help them begin to engage more in life, in what needs to be done today. Okay, so those are your 2 neighbors, and both of those are very strong, dominant forces to be reckoned with. I mean, 8s and 1s, the workplace is filled with 8s and 1s. Leadership, management. A lot of managers are 8s and 1s. And the 9, you have that ability to borrow from those very dominant types. I know the 1 is a compliant type, but they don't always look compliant. They're complying with a list of rules and guidelines in their head. And so they look like a very assertive type often. So the 9, you've got both of those powerful neighbors, on both sides of you that you want to borrow evenly from. And if you find yourself borrowing from one more than the other, then work to try to balance yourself out and develop that other wing. At the very bottom of the hill is your outhouse. At the top of your hill is your apple orchard. Okay, and you want to go up from the cabin every once in a while and go to the top of the hill to the apple orchard, which for you is a 3, and everything that it means to be the achiever. We'll talk about that in a minute. Let's go to the bottom of the hill first and talk about what life looks like when you are under stress, under pressure, feeling disconnected, passively upset, hurt, no one's valuing you, and people aren't coming to you and asking your thoughts and opinions. And when you're a 9 and you're in the outhouse, you're at the worst of type 6. And 6 is called the loyal skeptic. They're hot and cold, they're sweet and sour. 6s are very much about the team and very much about fitting in and belonging and feeling safe. They're a fear type, okay? And they are the typical fear type. So when 9s, have maybe delayed and put off assignments and are getting, passive in their relationships and are getting disconnected from people, when 9s are upset, or have let things go too long, they might start to hear the alarm bells go off. That, I've put this off too long, and now, the assignments are due, and people are upset with me, or they're going to get upset with me, and that fear of the 6 begins to motivate and can sometimes overwhelm the 9. And 9s can find themselves, dealing with a lot of anxiety, like a 6, when they're not healthy. When stressed at their low side, 9s can get angry and upset, but their anger, isn't probably going to look like the anger of an 8 or a 1, which is much more direct and straightforward. 9s fear disconnection, so their anger is probably going to be expressed more passively, more covertly, like a pleasing type might. It's going to be expressed more covertly and more passively, more stubbornly, like maybe agreeing to certain tasks or opinions that later they have no intention of actually carrying out. They may slow and jam the process down by their inaction, and passively act out their frustration and their upset, disappointment, and anger. They could, silently fume, expressing anger without directly expressing anger. They don't want to directly express anger often because, that leads to conflict, and conflict is in part what 9s are trying to avoid. So 9s tend to avoid their own anger because they fear not only that there may be a disconnection, but I think some 9s may also fear just that whole experience of anger. They don't want their volcano to explode. They don't want to experience that. And so they may resist that anger because they don't want to experience it. They don't want others to experience their anger. So they fear blowing up. They fear that whole process. And so they might tend to put a lid on their anger just because they don't want to experience exploding. So they may often avoid communicating their anger while passively resisting you in different ways. They may appear at times withdrawn or sullen, or a little pouty. They may put off making decisions because they're upset with you. And again, they may not even really realize or say out loud, it may not be self-aware enough to realize that they're upset with you. You just see them resisting getting things done, resisting making decisions, and then holding up others. And 9s are often unaware at how much of a problem they're being. When 9s are being a problem, I think oftentimes they're not aware they're being a problem. It's kind of like, what, me? Who, me? You think of it like this. If you're a family and you've got to go somewhere, and you go around, you tell all your kids, get your teeth brushed, get your shoes on, get your belts on, we're going to go to church, or we're going to go to the school play, or whatever it is, or we got to go to the softball game, and you're going around getting everybody in the car. Okay, usually one parent is usually like the driver in this situation, and so they're very aggressive, as they see their time's running out, they may get louder. Come on, guys, let's go. We've been waiting all day. Come on, let's move. Everybody goes out and gets in the car in their own, maybe you got one kid that's an 8 and I'm coming, they shoot back at you direct and upset, I told you I had to get or maybe the 4, the 7 says, I got to go get my iPad. I don't want to be bored at the game, And so they're delaying because they've got to get their iPad or they want to finish their show. Everybody gets out to the car and we're all sitting there with the engine running. You'll turn around and look, and where's the 9? Not in the car. Where are they? They're holding everybody up. So you go back in the house and they're in there brushing their hair or finishing up their makeup or still in the bathroom, and you're like, come on, let's go. What are we waiting on? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even, in that way, 9s kind of can become a problem, but it's not because they're being mouthy with you. It's not that they're being belligerent with you. It's not that they're being argumentative with you. It's just that they're sometimes holding things up. And 9s can, especially when they're on their low side, they may passively, aggressively, covertly hold things up and sort of jam up the works. If they don't feel like they're being valued or they're being cared about or they're being taken advantage of, they might become a little, passive aggressive, and their sloth can actually, be one of the demonstrations of their frustration. Just sort of failing to take action. So when 9s are in their outhouse, fear, can motivate them to get things done, but it's not their goals that are motivating them. That's in their health. Their worry, and some can become passive like that, but some, I think in some occasions that worry of the 6 can replace that passivity and actually motivate them into action, can move them into action. But again, it's not like, they're setting goals for themselves that they're trying to accomplish. It's more like, I've let this go too long and now I'm going to be in trouble if I don't get this assignment done. They can become more self-doubting of themselves and become frozen and paralyzed. They can become more reactive to others. And like 6s, they could become more suspicious and seek, a sense of safety and security in external structures, in organizations or in belonging to the right group. And they can become more pessimistic and, suspicious like 6s in their unhealth. And realize if you're a 9, and this description fits you and you kind of find yourself today in the outhouse, just realize that, people aren't going to want to visit you when you're in your outhouse. You need to go there because that's where you find relief. There's times when all of us will visit our outhouses because life gets stressful, life gets hard, life gets scary, life gets painful. And so you have a place to go. 6 is there for a reason. But you don't want to make that your dwelling place. You don't want to make that your home. And, it stinks in the outhouse. And nobody wants to visit you when you're there. And you will get disconnected from people because, when you're like this, when you're that passive-aggressive, upset, hurt, afraid, scared, disconnected, delaying, procrastinating, comfort seeker, when you're in that mode, life will pass you by because other people go on with life, even though you're sitting in the outhouse reading the catalog, other people and, nursing your wounds, trying to find relief. Other people's lives are going to go on, and they're going to go on right past you, and they're going to go on without you. And that includes even the closest people in your life. So you're missing life. So you wake up and you realize, hey, look around. This is not my cabin. This is an outhouse. I don't want to live here. I'm going to take some steps to get back to health. Now, as soon as you make that decision and you observe where you're at in your unhealth, you're distancing yourself from your personality, and your personality is no longer in control. In other words, your 9ness is no longer in control. You start to supersede your nineness, and you start to make a decision about what you want in life. And soon as you do that, you're moving to 3. You see that? Because 3s are the achievers. 3 set goals. 3s look at what they want in life and they go after it. And as soon as you look around and you say, I don't like the state of things around me, I'm going to take some steps to open this door and come out and move to a more healthy place, you're on your road to health. And it's a decision that you have to make. Nobody can make it for you. You can't passively wait for somebody else to come in and take you by the hand and move you in the right direction. You have to wake up to this yourself. So you move back to 9 and you're back to your typical state, where you're productive, you are secure, and you are relatively, stable in life, and you're working within your comfort zone. Let's talk about going up to the top of the hill, what that looks like. What pure health looks like to a 9 when they move to 3. 3s are the achievers. 3s are the people that set goals. 3s are the people that accomplish things. 3s are the people that move the agenda forward. 9s, you have that in you to do that. And what's cool is you can pick up the best of the 3 without any of the downsides of 3s. You can move toward goals and move toward accomplishing tasks without doing it in a deceitful way, without needing others to praise you, without tripping over yourself and getting in your own way, without displaying yourself and broadcasting yourself in order to get the admiration of others. You can accomplish great things just like a 3 does, but you can sleep at night not worried about, what am I going to accomplish tomorrow? You can set your trophy down on the case and go back to bed and relax, where a 3, maybe can't. A 3 is going to stay driven and stay motivated and stay, because they're running away from shame. You're not running away from shame. So you can tap into the best of 3ness and go up to the apple orchard. Again, you can never really live there, but you can go up and pick from the fruit of the best of 3ness. Okay, so you become a team player when you're moving to health. You are more easygoing and adaptable. One of the things about 3s is they're like chameleons, right? They fit in with whatever group and they become the best of whatever group they're in. And 9s can pick that up and they become, in a positive way, a team player, agreeable, and adaptable, and will work hard to move things forward without complaining and without taking themselves too seriously, without the focus of the spotlight being on yourself, without needing to be recognized for all of your contributions. And again, that's very hard for 3s. 3s want to be recognized. They want to be affirmed that they have value and worth. Can be very congenial and funny. 9s, when they're healthy, can be very congenial and funny, and sometimes even look like 7s in that regard. I think about like Kevin James, Doug from King of Queens is a 9, wing 8, and I think Ray Romano is a 9, and these guys are very funny. Bob Newhart, I think, is a 9, very funny guy. Will Ferrell is a 9, very funny guy. And so when 9s, are healthy and relaxed and secure, they don't take life so seriously, and they're willing to accept whatever, and can be very easygoing and humorous and pleasant to be around. So let's see, they'll give others the benefit of the doubt and take the high road and stay focused on what's most important for others and for the business and for moving the agenda forward. They communicate what they don't like before it festers and becomes a problem. When you passively deal with your anger and frustrations, realize this is a good saying, I'm going to try to put this in more of my videos, that if you don't let it out, whether it's grief, a 7 needs to let themselves grieve, a 9 needs to let themselves get angry. when you don't deal with things like grief and anger, when you don't let it out, then it will tend to leak out. Okay, hear that again. If you don't let it out in a constructive, direct, thoughtful way, then it tends to leak out. When you're angry, it comes out in some way or another. And if you don't deal with it directly, you're going to deal with it indirectly, and it's going to cause problems. It's not like it goes away. It's like a virus. It doesn't go away. It has to be dealt with and has to be eliminated, has to be faced. Fear has to be faced, anger has to be faced, frustrations have to be faced and dealt with. And when you don't, and you try to just shove them down, you'll find that if you don't let it out, that it'll leak out in maybe less productive, healthy ways. Okay, that's worth the video right there. That's good information. Let's see. Feels more, okay, when nines go to 3, they feel more special and important. They feel like they're making a contribution and they're becoming valuable. Which is a hard thing for nines, to feel valuable. I don't think a lot of nines really, feel valuable. And when they're getting in touch with their 3-ness and they're setting goals and they're accomplishing things and they're moving the team forward and they're going to start to feel like, hey, this is good. I feel like I have some value and I'm an important person. And you are, of course you are. They get in touch with their passion and desires, their own passion and desires. So rather than being moved forward by fear and deadlines and alarm bells, ding, 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 we got to get it done. Rather than being moved forward out of that 6, negative place, they're setting goals for themselves and they're moving forward because they're in touch with their own passion and desires. In other words, this is what I want in life. This is what I'm trying to accomplish in life. And they start putting, flags down and start moving toward those flags. This is nines in health. Okay, this is what nines. I think Walt Disney was a 9-wing one. The dreamer, and he definitely, was putting flags down and moving toward goals and accomplishing things. That's nines in a healthy state. They display their worth and value in accomplishments. Okay. But again, not in that, needing to be admired way that maybe a 3 does. They begin to take action. They become goal-oriented. They become more decisive. That's a key word for nines to work on, is to be decisive. Because, nines tend to want to fuse with others and go along with their agendas. And again, that's part of that sloth. It's easier to just adopt your agenda than it is to think about my own. It's easier to adopt your desires and values in life than it is to sort through my own. And also, I don't want the conflict. But at the end of the day, what do you want in life? What are you called to do? What are you called to be in life? And, just playing it safe is not safe. Going along with what others want for you, is that what you really want for you? I know I've had 5s, get upset with me on my videos because they say, if I want to be a spectator to life, then why isn't that a good enough reason, for me to live my life as a spectator? And, and for a 9, you might say, well, if I want to fuse my agenda with others and just be and do what they want me to, and that's what I want, then why is that a problem? I guess if that's, as long as you mentally decide that, but I at least want you to be aware enough that that's what you're doing. I don't want you to do that and not realize that's what you've done. If that's what you want in life, then I guess that's what I want for you. But just say it out loud. Say it out loud and own that. Say out loud, I don't want to set my own agenda for life. I don't want to guide and direct my life. I want my life to be led by somebody else. And I want to fuse with and merge with their values and opinions. And I want what they want. And I want what they want for me. Say that out loud and just own it. And I think when you do that, you'll kind of feel how sick that is, and it probably won't feel like something you want to say out loud. And if that's the case, then you're going to have to get in touch with who you are, what makes you you. And in that way, you need to kind of like go find a 4, find somebody that's a 4 and sit down with them and say, what does this mean to be authentic to myself? Because 4s, man, they could help you with this. What does it mean to wake up out of the matrix? 9s, you are the proverbial matrix sleeper, okay? And a 4, they live their life feeling like they're awake and all the rest of us are asleep. And I think a 4 could really help you get in touch with your authentic self and being true to yourself and, deciding who you are and what you want to do in life. I feel like I've been kind of hard on you 9s. You can take it because you're the palm trees. The hurricanes blow and you guys just bend with it. It's only because I love you. It's only because I care about you guys, and you're so easy to get along with, But at what expense? At what expense to your own personhood are you that easy to get along with? So I think that about covers it, and I hope that this video has helped you and encouraged you. If you're a 9 or you live with a 9, I hope it's blessed you. And as always, in my description, you can get in touch with me if you want to want to reach out. Of course, you can leave a comment always and subscribe and all that stuff. You're probably already subscribed if you're watching this video, but you can reach out to me. I have been recently doing a lot of appointments with people and with several 9s, who kind of feel like they're getting stuck in that outhouse, and they just need some, specific encouragement how to maybe, get back into the game. And really that's what it's about. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Take care and blessings. And be present to life. And so for 9s, be present to life. What does that mean? Get in the game. All right, I'll see you guys next time.